Hello and welcome to week 4 of our adventure in databases. I'm still Brother Stevic. I'm still teaching the class, and we are now going to talk about a couple different things today. We're going to pick up something we were left off yesterday, more about normalization and how we normalize databases. We talked about the 3 rules of normalization, and we're talking a little bit more. I'm going to create some more tables in the shelf indulgence database, and we're going to go through a bunch of queries. Okay. So, when we talked about, if you remember last time, let me go ahead and create this again. Again, to create the ERD from your database, you go to click the database, you click reverse engineer. This is asking you which instance. You're doing the instance on your computer, so it's localhost port 3306. Next, retrieve everything. Next, we just want you to the shelf indulgence database. Next, next, and you're going to create the 3 objects. Next, finish. And there they are. These are the 3. Now, when we talk about, remember we talked about normalization. Um, we have the books database, we have the books table, we have the authors table, and we've got the books authors table. And we have it this way because we can't put the author in the books table because there might be more than one author, and that is not normalized. We don't want repetitive data, and we don't want data that exists in more than one spot. Okay. We can't, in the book set, we can't have author 1, author 2, author 3, author 4. That would make sense because what if there's 6 authors? What if there's 2 authors, and you have 5 spaces open? That doesn't work so good. So we created the book authors table. So what we're going to do now is when we talk about normalizing and protecting our data, we talked about this last week. There's something else that we do. We want to make sure that when people are entering the data, they're not doing something that's going to cause problems. They're going to put bad data in, misspellings, new words, blah, blah, blah. So we're in a bookstore and we just got a whole new inventory of books in. And I got Bob. Bob's my guy who does my data input. And Bob does not know how to spell romance. And so every time he puts a romance book in, he spells romance 7 different ways. So whenever someone looks for romance, they can't find romance because they can't spell it. There's something funny there. And let's say he decides that like Stephen King's It isn't necessarily as a horror, it's a romantic horror. He thinks it's romantic horror. There's something wrong with Bob. So he makes a new category, a new genre called romantic horror. And we don't want that. We don't want that at all. So we need to create a table because here in this table we got the genre category, and you just type in what you want. So what we need to do is we need to create some guardrails there for Bob. So we're going to create a genre table in which we're going to put all the genres that it could possibly be. And then so when we have the front end database, there's going to be a drop down list that's going to connect to the genre table and pull them from there. So then we're going to have to link the tables to the foreign key so that the ID from genres is in books. And I'll show you this in a minute. Okay. The other table we're going to add is the publishers table. Books have publishers. A book only has one publisher, so I'm going to do the same like the genres table. I'm going to create a publisher table. I'm going to link it over, foreign key it over to the books table. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a customers table and a sales table. Okay. Because you get some good stuff with that. Okay. Customers, we want people in the store buying things, and we want to know what they bought so we can check it out later. All right. So here's the code. First thing we do is I'm going to create a table. I got to use the database first. I don't have my code there for using the database. Use shelf indulgence. Okay. So the first thing I do is I'm going to create a table for genre. And it's going to be if it's create table if it doesn't exist. Okay. It's going to go genres and it's going to have a genre ID. And we added a new thing here. And I want to show you this here. We've got int, which we talked about, primary key, which means it's going to be not null and unique. And it's going to be the key of the table, and auto increment. Auto increment's the new one. So if we don't want to put the ID in, we just put an auto increment. So what happens is when you auto increment a command, when you auto increment a column, it starts at number one and then goes all the way till it ends, until you reach 2 billion something. Okay. So it's going to be uh, um, auto increment. So you start at one, it goes down, it automatically does it for you. If you delete it, let's say you have 1 through 15 and you delete 15, it does not pick up at 15 again, it goes to 16. So anytime you delete, it remembers the last one that was there, even though it's gone now, and goes through. If you have 1 through 75 and you delete 21 through 30, it doesn't go back and fill in those numbers. Okay. It just picks up where it left off. It always knows where the last one went in. So I'm going to create that. Then I'm going to create the publishers table. Create publishers, publisher ID, primary key auto increment, publisher name, and the city the publisher is in. And then I'm going to create the customer table. Doesn't exist. Customer int primary key auto increment. First name, last name, and their email address. Okay. Then I'm going to create the sales table. Now, sales table. Sales ID, primary key auto increment, book ID, customer ID, sale date, quantity, total price, foreign key. Foreign key to book and 40 key to customer. Now, there's a problem with the table, and we're going to address that next week. But I want you guys to look at this table and see if you can tell what's wrong with it. Then I got to alter these tables. I got to go to the books table and remove the genre column. I got to alter the books table and add a genre ID column. I've got to alter the books table and add a publisher ID column. And then I got to alter the table, books table, and add a foreign key to genre and add a foreign key to publisher, because this already got the foreign keys built in because the books table is already there. So creating a genre table, creating a publisher table, creating a customers table, creating a sales table where there's something wrong with the sales table. We're going to deal with it next week, but there's something wrong with that sales table. And then all my foreign keys. So here we go. Let's run the first one. And then refresh over here. And our genre table's there. Let's run our publisher table. Let's run our customer table. Let's run our books table, or our sales table. So let me refresh here. Okay. And then let me drop the column. Let me just add them all at once. Let me add the column, add the two columns, and then do the foreign keys. Okay. So I look at the books table. Oh no, that's not right. Let me refresh it. Boom, now it is correct. I go back here, my diagram. Diagram hasn't changed. I can't refresh it. It's because when you make changes in the code, it doesn't automatically reflect here because this is a static model. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to do this again. Database, reverse engineer. Next. Use shelf indulgent, please, not my DB. Next, execute. Next, finish. And now it looks a little different now, doesn't it? We got a publishers table, we got our books table, we got our book authors table, and we got our genre table. Okay. All right. We're at 7 tables, and your assignment is 10. So you're only 3 away, and we're going to deal with that next week. So again, one last time, what's wrong with this table? What is wrong with this table? All right. So we've got our new diagram here. Everything's here. Everything's good. Price. Everything matches. All right. Go here. I'm going to insert into here. I've got insert in genre names. Notice I don't have genre IDs because it's auto incremented. So if I run this and I select from genres, Oh, I forgot my star. Sorry. Everything's got a number, even though it wasn't put there. I've got my publishers. Let's insert into them. I've got my customers. Let's insert into them. And I've got to update my genres. I got to my books. So all my books have genres and all my books have publishers. Okay. And then here are my sales. And just as I told you last week, when you are doing your final projects, if you choose to do them and you do those insert statements, these were all generated by AI. It has the schema. I said, do the insert statements for me, and it worked just fine. So all of my stuff is here. All my table populated now. Okay. So let's look at some queries. So what we're going to talk about today, uh, no one says I can't ask any questions. So that is normalization. That's more about how to design the database. That's how to get the tables connected and seeing where you need to make some additions to tables. Next week, we're going to take it further. Okay. Now, this week, the code is all about aggregates. Aggregates, we've kind of touched on earlier, but now we're going to define them and then go into deepen them. Okay. An aggregate is when you take a column that is numerically based and do mathematical operations on it to get either the sum of it or the average of it or whatever you can think of. There's a bunch of different ones. Okay. We're not going to touch on all of them today. We're going to talk about some of them. So we're going to talk about count, sum, average, and max. Okay. To start with. So here, select count star as total titles from books. Again, what do we want? Where do we want it from? Okay. I want the select from books. What I want is the count of the rows. So count star means count everything. I'm not calling out a specific row. I'm counting all the rows or a specific column in a row, counting all columns in a row. And what I want to know is how many rows are in that column book. I'm going to call it total titles. So when I run this, I'm just going to get a single number and it's 50. Okay. If I added more books, there'd be more there. I want to know how many customers I have. I got 50 customers. I need more customers. How much money have I made selling books? Okay. Sum count tells you how many there are. Sum obviously totals them up. Okay. Count tells you the number. Sum totals them up. So I've made $14,423.44 in books. Okay. These are just very simple math functions. It's fast, fast. It's like when you do an Excel spreadsheet, you click that little sum button and you tell the columns, and this is the same thing. What is the average price of a book across our publishers? So same column is here, same query. This was select sum total price. This is select average price. Oh, this is from books. So I'm getting this average price from books. The average price is $60.79, give or take a few cents. Okay. And now, last one. So count is how many of things they are. Sum is the total of the things. Average is the average of the things. Max is what is the record sale? What was the highest sale we've ever had? And I just want the total amount. So max total price from sales, $2,500. It has an opposite. So what's the minimum sale what's the lowest sale we've ever made? $7.50. Okay. So this is the start of this. So again, there's so many more. We did Rand last week. There's floor. We did floor last week. Um, I can't think. There's just so many of them. So if you just go and look up on, if you do a Google search and say, show me aggregates for my T-SQL, they're going to show you about 30, 40, 50 of those things. Okay, so now let's talk about more complex queries using aggregate functions. Okay, I'm going to select the genre name from the genre table, the count of the books from the book table, and I'll call that book count. I'm joining the genre table and the books table on genre ID, and I'm grouping my genre name. Again, remember, we talked about this last week. If you have an aggregate function in your select statement, you must have a group by clause in your query, because if you don't, it will not work right. Because when we're aggregating, we're telling the database to add something together, and we not need to know what we're adding it by. In the first one, select count from customers. That just give me everything. Okay, give me everything. Give me the count of everything. But here, I want to count by a specific column. I want to count by the genre column. And because the name of the genre is in the genre column and the name of the number of books is in the books table, we need to join them together. So we're doing an inner join from books on genre ID group by the name. So it's going to total up the count of the book ID based on the genre ID. Okay. Next one here. Publisher name, the count of how many books produced by a publisher. This is the same thing, same query as before, except from using the genre, I want to see how many books are published by a specific publisher. Okay. Now I'm going to do a simple join. I'm going to get the first and last name, and this is the same thing we did before. I'm getting the first last name of the customer, and then how many things they've bought by the sales ID, linking customers and sales. I have to group by the customer because my aggregate is sales ID. Now, I did say that the column in the aggregate in the group by must be, rather the columns in the select query must be in the aggregate in their group by if there's an aggregate function. This is the one case where that doesn't have to be because the customer ID is actually what we're aggregating on. Because the customer ID, because it's unique and is never null, and because these are the same, we're going to do a customer ID. So we can use customer ID instead of first name, last name. Because this equates to that. And we're limiting it to the top 10 responses. Okay. So James Smith, everyone just bought 2 books. Okay. All right. So that's where we're there. Any questions? No. Yeah, of course, no questions. There's no one here. It's just me talking to myself. My dog. My dog's over there. All right. So again, aggregate in the select query, group by, and the rest of the statement tells them what to group it by. All right. Now, if I want to do some kind of comparison operation or a filtering operation on an aggregate column, I can't use where. It's got to be the word having. So regular query uses a where clause. Select from where. Aggregate query, select from having. You can't use a where clause on an aggregate function. And you can't use a having clause on a regular query. So that means if I'm, I think I have one here. If I don't, I should have one here. If not, I'll add one. If I'm filtering the aggregate, I'm using having. If I'm using the non-aggregates, I'm using where. And yes, they can both be in the same query. So let's look at this one. I want to get the publisher name, and I want to get the average price of the book, and I'm rounding it. Rounding it means what you think it does. I'm rounding up to the second digit to do to 2 decimal places. Okay, as average price. From publishers, I'm joining to books. I'm grouping by publisher name, and I want to know where it has the price of over $15. So I'm getting the average cost of a book by per publisher. So I want to know what their average price is. And then I want to know anyone who's over $15 on average. Okay. So HarperCollins, Hatchet Books, and Macmillan Press. I want to identify the customers who spent more than $50. Very similar. First name, last name, the sum of the total prices, total spent, right? From customers, joining sales, grouping by customer ID, and having spent more than $50. Okay. Wow. Jessica and Thomas there, or Jessica and Jennifer. Spend lots of money. Okay. Okay. So we're going to take a back step here. Last week, we talked about cross joins, and cross joins are known as cardinal joins, ordinal joins. Okay. What this means is if row, if table 1 has 10 rows in it, and if table 2 has 10 rows in it, when we join them together, there will be 100 rows in the result set because, and let me show you what this looks like. So here, I'm selecting the distinct genre and city from genres, and I'm cross-joining publishers. What's going to happen here is every genre is going to be linked to every city. Okay. So if you look, let me bring this up a little bit here so you can see it. Okay. So here, New York has all of them. London has all of them. Paris has all of them. Oxford has all of them. Okay. So what this is doing, what cross joins do, it takes one row in table 1 and matches it to the 10 rows in table 2. It takes the one row in table 2, row 2 in table 1, 10 rows in row 2. Row 3, 10 rows. Row 4, 10 rows. That's why there's 100. Okay. Another one. I'm going to select the first name and the last name and the genre name from customers and cross-joining genres. So every customer is going to go with every genre. And there's going to be a few of these. So we have a total of 500 rows. So Michelle Adams has all the genre names. Stephen Allen has all the genre names, and so on. So you get what cross joins are for. So I took some time and figured out practical uses of cross joins because in my 22 years of being a DBA, I haven't found a practical use for a cross join. We're going to get to those. So here, let's look at some complicated advanced queries now. Okay. So we have a union here. And remember, the union statement takes two queries and links them together. So if I do select, did I talk about union statements? I haven't. Okay, let's. So a union query, okay, takes two queries and puts them together. The only requirement is that both queries have the same amount of columns. So as long as these both have the same amount of columns, we're fine. So here, I got two queries. I got this one here. I'm selecting the distinct email address and the word and interest group A as segment from customers. And I'm seeing what customers bought fantasy novels. Okay. This query tells me what group bought science fiction novels. I'm going to change this as group segment B. Okay. These both have three columns, or two columns. From customers, sales, books, and genre. I'm cross-joining four tables, or interjoining four tables, just so I can find out what customers, their email address to people who bought fantasy books, and I'm unioning it with people who bought sci-fi. Okay. So all these people bought fantasy, group B bought sci-fi. Okay. Now I want to see, I'm unioning all. I'm seeing the sale date, the total price, January, February is the time period where sales, where the from sales where the date is greater than, or rather less than, um the 1st of January 2023, 2026. And then I'm going to find the sales data and the total price from sales where the sales date is greater than or equal to March for of greater than or equal to that. Okay. So let's run this. These are my sales for March, April, January, February. And then on March 1st, it changes. So here, where the sales date is less than uh, uh, more January 1st, here where it's greater than or equal to uh, March 1st. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. This is both March 1st. Sorry. I'm in British dates here. I'm in English dates here. So this is 0301. So this is March 3rd. Less than March 3rd, greater than or equal to March. Less than March 1st, greater than or equal to March 1st. Okay. Again with Union All. All right. Last few here. Here we go. Everyone following? Any questions? No? All right, cool. Okay. I'm selecting the city and the total price as city revenue. What I am doing here is I am seeing what cities based on the publisher's table had what the total sales in those cities were. This is completely objective, subjective. This isn't something we'd actually do. It's just how much money are we selling by city. So because the publishers are in a city, we're going to see how much that city made us. Okay. Apparently, Paris is the way to do. Here, I'm getting the name of the genre, how many of that genre we have in stock, and how many we sold of it. Okay, you follow me? I want to know how many are in stock and how many we sold. Genre name, I'm getting the sum of the stock count from as current stock from the books table. I'm getting the sum of the units sold from the sales table. Remember, these letters here reflect back here because I don't want to type genre. I just want to do G. So genre name, stock count, and the sum of that, and then the sum of the quantity of units sold from genre, joining books, left joining sales. That means if there's anything that's in the genre table that doesn't have something in the books table, we're going to see a null. Okay. And then I want to see where the current stock is greater than the quantity in the sales table. So I want to know where the current stock is greater than what we sold. So if we still have 50 left and we only sold 2 of them, that's going to show up. If we sold 50 and we got 2 left, it's not going to show up. The classic table, fantasy table. Okay. All right. Here's a couple really complicated ones. Now this one's interesting. This one shows how a cross join is used actually usefully. So here, I am selecting the book title, the tier name, from publisher. Oh, this isn't from publisher. Okay, wait, hang on. Watch this. Wait. So I'm doing the book title, the tier name, the price as original, and then I'm changing the price based on a multiplier as the promotional price. And I'm selecting from I'm joining books to genres. And then I've got a cross join here with this guy. And this is a query that I've placed in here. Okay. It's not much of a query. All it does is returned. Sorry, I need a drink. All this is doing, if I run this by itself, it just returns that. Okay. And this is a cross join. So what that means is for every title is going to be paired up each of these. Okay. So it'll be the title, then the tier name, the flash sale. Then it's going to multiply the price, give the original, then give the multiplied price that's rounded by the multiplier, which is 0.85, which is a 15% discount as the promotional price. So it's just going to go through all the books and pair it to all of these. And there's one, I'm not going to, let's just, it says where the genre name is classic. So let's look at that real quick. Oh, that was me. I deleted that by accident. Okay. I must have deleted that by accident because that was there. Caps lock. B. Thank you. Okay. Try this again. But see how it said unknown column B in field list? That there was no B there, so it didn't know what it was referring to. Changing that back and running this. Okay. Where the wild things are, flash sale, $15. Let me order this by name. All right. Get that semicolon there. Study in Scarlet has all three. American Gods has all three. Mary Animal Farm has all three. Okay. So this basically is creating a table saying if you're here for the flash sale, or if you're selling on the flash sale, it's 765. If I'm selling it for a product clearance, it's 450, and if I'm selling the member special, it's 675. Okay. So I've got three different types of sales, three different multipliers. And so I'm going to see the price for each of them because I'm using a cross join. Okay. Let's look at this guy here. I'm selecting the author name and the total price as the total revenue from the author. I'm just joining it by a bunch of things. Because I got to get to the sales, I got to join author to book authors to books, and books to sales. I'm going to group by author name and run it. Jerry Siegel, Brandon Sanderson. Okay. Author name, the total price of sold goods from the sales table, and I'm grouping it by author. I got to cross join, I inter join all these tables to get the information. All right, next one. Select sales ID, sale ID, last name, title, and total price from sales, customer, and books, where the total price is greater than the average price from the entire sales table. So the average price from the entire sales table is $144. What I want to know is what customers made purchases that were over $144. Make sense? Okay. I've got a subquery here that's in the where clause. and run it. Martinez, Lee, Davis, Garcia, and Thomas. Apparently, we had 5 copies of Action Comics #1, and we sold them for way under market price. We sold them for $2,500, and they're worth about $9.5 million. So we are going out of business. Last one for the night. How complicated can we get this, huh? Let's see what we got. We're taking the genre name. I'm getting the count of distinct book IDs as unique titles. So how many unique titles are there from the book? I'm getting the sum of the current stock. I'm getting the sum of the total price from the sales table. And I'm rounding the average sale. So what I'm doing is I'm finding out the genre name, how many books we have in that genre, how many we have left in stock, how much money we've made off of them, and then what's the average sale of that genre through all of recorded time. And I'm going to sort it by genre revenue descending. Thrillers, we've sold $12,000 worth. We sold 17 of them. And we have 17 in stock, and we sold 12,000 of them. Okay. Fantasy, there are 5 titles, and we had almost 1,200 of them. We've made $800. Average sale of $25. So this gives me, again, how many titles, how many we have in stock currently, how much money we've made off of them, and what's my average sale. We haven't sold a mystery book. Nothing's been sold. No one likes mysteries where we are. All right. So hopefully you got all that. If you have any questions, please drop me a line, text me, give me a call, send me a message to the canvas, do whatever you need to do to answer the question. Me or the T will be happy to answer your questions. And as I close out tonight's call, again, what's wrong with that? There's something wrong with that. So let me know. All right. Thanks. Hope if you're watching this, you're having a great day. If not, if you are, great. If not, hope tomorrow's better. And I'll be back next week and maybe someone with me. Hey, thank you and good night.